Okay, we're here with Eric Griego, and why did you throw your hat in the ring?
Well, I think, unfortunately, I think working families and seniors and kids are under attack in Washington right now. The investments we've made since FDR are being essentially dismantled systematically by this right-wing conservative majority that has become the leadership in the Congress. At the same time, we're not asking millionaires and billionaires or the multinational corporations to do anything to help us get this community protected and invested in. We're letting them off the hook while we're asking seniors to take cuts in Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security, and it's wrong. And we need leadership who's going to stand up to that and say that's not what we believe as Americans. That's not what we should be doing. We should do right by our seniors, do right by our families and our working folks.
So how do you balance the fiscal mess that we've got?
It's the same debate we've been having at the state level, and that is that we talk about cutting and cutting and cutting schools and cutting healthcare and cutting programs for children and families and seniors, but we never seem to be willing to talk about the fact that we are the most unequal in terms of income that we've been since the Great Depression. Millionaires and billionaires are running the Congress, and the guys who are in charge of the Congress are making sure that they're off the table when it comes to generating the revenue that we need to invest in our community and our kids and to protect our seniors. At the same time, the GEs of the world and the Walmarts of the world are not being asked to do anything in terms of paying taxes. You saw the stories on GE and BP. Mm-hmm. They're getting huge multi-billion-dollar tax breaks while we're asking seniors to pay more into their pensions at the state and the federal level, while we're asking for cuts into Medicaid, which helps many people in New Mexico get health care. So these guys aren't asking the richest and the most powerful in our country to play by the same rules that the rest of us play by.
Is it an either-or proposition? Either we tax or close up the loopholes on corporations, we don't touch other things, or do we just look after cutting spending and
No, it's absolutely a balance. It's what we've tried to do at the state level. Unfortunately, when we talk about cuts, typically they want to put on these social investments we've made in seniors and kids and so on, and that's where they want to cut it. Defense Department's off the table. Despite the largesse there and the sweetheart deals and contracts that happen all over the country, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about the many other sort of wasteful programs that are really poor in many Republican districts. But we're willing to talk about cutting Medicaid or school funding for kids or community health centers, which we've cut in this last budget, or environmental protection, which was also cut in the Ryan budget. So absolutely, do we need to tighten our belts? Everybody needs to tighten their belts. But you don't do that on the backs of seniors and kids and working families. There's a way to make some reasonable belt-tightening reductions in spending that don't hurt working people and families and seniors. But the bigger issue is when are we going to get someone, which is why I'm running for Congress, to go up there and say, wait a minute, there's a whole bunch of really rich, powerful interests that are not paying their fair share and getting a free pass on this whole issue. And when are we going to start talking about them?
Do you think that maybe, you've got quite a reputation of being very outspoken and being certainly left of center. Do you think that maybe you run the risk of being a little bit too far to the left for a general population in a general election?
I think, I was born and raised in this district, and I can tell you I have a lot of family and friends of all political persuasions, and what they agree on more than anything is fairness. And it is not fair to ask seniors and working people and kids to bear the brunt of this fiscal mess that we're in at the national level. At the same time, not asking for one penny from millionaires and billionaires or from the GEs of the world and giving them corporate tax breaks. That is not a left-wing idea. That's the kind of democracy that people like FDR believed in. And I'm a strong supporter of fairness. And I don't think it's fair what we're asking from our seniors and our kids and our families.
Is there a certain politician that maybe you try to emulate or hold up to as someone that you use as a model?
Well, I'm an FDR Democrat for sure, which is that we are in this together, that there's to whom much is given, much is expected. If you have benefited from all of the investments that we have made as a nation in public safety and infrastructure, then you owe something back to this country and this community to make sure every kid, every senior has an opportunity to have a dignified and good life. So, of course, I'm a hero of FDR, and I also believe that there are folks who can stand on principle and win in moderate, quote-unquote, moderate districts, whatever that means. Paul Wellstone in Minnesota, Senator Paul Wellstone from Minnesota is a huge hero of mine. I'm a Wellstone Democrat, too. So the right wing has done a good job of telling people that these are left-wing ideas, that protecting Medicaid and Medicare are somehow left-wing big government ideas. And somehow protecting the richest corporations and millionaires and billionaires is center. I disagree, especially in New Mexico. So I think I'm actually much more in tune with the average New Mexican than most people in Washington.
Last question for you. Rightly or wrongly, whatever party holds the White House when the economy goes up or down, they get too much credit, perhaps too much blame. Things are still struggling in the economy. You think that might hurt Democrats and maybe your campaign in general, in a general election, that people just are just in a sour mood?
Well, I think there's justifiable angst and anxiety among working people, all families, because the economy is struggling. The question is, in that kind of economy, whether it turns around in a year, and I think the signs are very much there that hopefully they'll get better, the question is, are we in this together or not? Can we all tighten our belts and make sure we protect the basic investments in kids and families and seniors that we need to protect? At the same time, not ask that corporations and the rich be let off the hook to get us through this crisis. One of the things we learned with FDR in this city and in this state, that when the economy is struggling, there is a strong role for the public sector. And the last thing you ought to be doing is gutting the public sector, because that's what's keeping jobs going. We need healthcare. We need schools. These guys want to gut it to the bone. And somebody needs to stand between them and all the people who are going to be affected by these cuts. And that's what I'm planning to do. That's what I've done my whole life. And I'm proud of that.
All right. Eric Griego, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.